Let's start lecture 1 of equations and inequalities. So let's start the first topic, the rectangular coordinate system. So what is the rectangular coordinate system? The other name for rectangular coordinate system is the Cartesian coordinate system. So Cartesian coordinate system was first proposed by René Descartes. So he proposed it in and this was the first case where he proposed that rather than positioning points or positioning by using a certain axis, so what he proposed is he wanted to use two perpendicular axes. So two perpendicular axes where one of the centers, the center part or the intersection point becomes the origin, and the horizontal axis he called it the x-axis and the vertical axis the y-axis. So the Cartesian coordinate system, so which is also called as the rectangular coordinate system, there are two forms of it. One is the two-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system and the three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. So in this chapter we are going to talk about two-dimensional plane or a two-dimensional plane coordinate system. So in two-dimensional coordinate system, the entire plane is divided into four quadrants: quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. So in each quadrant we split the axis into equal parts. So if you take the Cartesian coordinate system, so it starts the origin here 0, and from that point to the right you end up getting positive values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the left we get negative values, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 in the x-axis. In the y-axis, towards the top side you get positive values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and to the negative side, to the bottom, you get the negative values minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4. So this is the idea behind the Cartesian system. In quadrant 1, all of the points in quadrant 1 are written in the form of a ordered pair x comma y. So this x comma y is the x here represents the distance from the y axis, y here represents the distance from the x axis. So for example, let's say if I have a coordinate value 2, 1, so 2 represents the distance from the y-axis. So from the y-axis is where we start at the origin. So how do you represent a point, or how do you plot a point, is you go on the x-axis, so you go horizontally twice, and then you go 1 up, right, 1 up. So the point there indicates the point 2, 1. So remember the two lines. First we draw a horizontal line equal to the length that is mentioned in the x value, and then we go vertically to the length that is mentioned in the y value. So this is the example of the Cartesian coordinate system. So there are four quadrants which we discussed just minutes ago. So in quadrant 1, all of the coordinates, both x comma y, are positive. In quadrant 2, x values are negative and the y values are positive. In quadrant 3, both x value and y values are negative, and in quadrant 4, so the y value is negative, the x value is positive, the y value is negative. So just by noticing the signs on x and y, we can denote the quadrant in which the point lies in. So this here is the example of the Cartesian coordinate system. So remember the term ordered pair. So the ordered pair is the one that you end up using a lot. So let's try and plot some points on a graph, and let's see if we can So let's try plotting the points. So let's say this is the graph that we use here. Now, so the first point that we want to plot, you have minus 2 comma 4. So let's start with minus 2 comma 4. So remember the idea here. So x value, you're going to go horizontally. So because it's negative, you're going to go to the left. So you're going to go towards the left side. So until minus 2. And next you have 4 points that you have to go in the y direction. Notice 4 is positive. So you're going to go 4 upwards. So this point here represents minus 2 comma 4. So this is how you plot the points. First negative 2 in the x direction and plus 4 in the y direction. So remember how to plot the points. Next let's plot another point. Let's plot 3 comma 3 now. So how do you plot 3 comma 3? Again, so look at the x value, you have 3 here, so you have to go 3 points to the right because it's positive, so you're going towards the right side. So 3. Next another 3 upward, so 3 upward. So this point here represents the value 3 comma 3. So remember, you're going plus 3 in the x direction, plus 3 in the y direction. So let's try another point. Let's this time try 0 comma negative 3. So remember that 0 represents the y direction. So because 0 itself, we are starting at 0, so there is no direction to go. So you don't go left, you don't go right, because it's 0, there is no distance at all. Next you're going in y direction negative 3. So because there is no horizontal, go in the vertical. So in the vertical, you're going until negative 3. So this point here represents 0 comma negative 3. So this is how you can plot points based on the given directions, based on the points that you have. So whenever you see x comma y, so you are going x direction either in the positive x or the negative x from the origin, and you are either going negative y or positive y depending on the value. So whichever direction you use, that becomes your plotting points. Now, so I hope you understand. So also try now, if you're done. So try for practice, try 2 comma minus 4, 0 comma 5, 5 comma 0, minus 1 comma 3, minus 2 comma minus 5. So try these points. So pause the video right here and try to solve these problems. Next let's graph. So graphing equations. So the common method for graphing equations is to plot the points by plotting the points. But how do you plot the points? Let's take a simple equation, y equal to 2x minus 1. So in this equation, how do you plot the points? Is you have to take two. So what we do here is we draw a table, and in this table we write on the top the value of x, and on the bottom we write y equal to 2x minus 1. So remember that here there is no limit to what value that you can put in the table. So you can choose any values, but try to choose a bunch of positive and a bunch of negative values. For example, you can try minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, and let's say another value 3. So when you try this, next how do you get y equal to 2x minus 1 is plot the value, try to substitute the x value in the equation. So y equal to 2 into this way. So in place of x, substitute the value minus 3 minus 1. So 2 into minus 3 is minus 6 minus 1. That gives you minus 7. So minus 7. If you substitute the same way the second value, you have 2 into minus 2 minus 1. That is minus 4 minus 1. That you get minus 5. Next, my 2 into minus 1 minus 1. So that is minus 2 minus 1. That's minus 3. Next, you have 2 into 0 minus 1. That is minus 1. Next, 2 into 1 minus 1. That is 1. You have 2 into 2 minus 1. That is 3. Next, 2 into 3 minus 1. That is 5. Now, just write down the points in the order x comma y as an ordered pair. So when you write them as an ordered pair, you get. So now let's try and write them as ordered pairs. How do you write the ordered pairs? Write down the x value first, minus 3 comma minus 7 in brackets. Next, again the next point is minus 2 comma minus 5. Next point is minus 1 comma minus 3. Next 0 comma negative 1. Next 1 comma 1. Next 2 comma 3. Next 3 comma 5. So these are the points for the equation that you have here. So these are the points that you have for the equation here. Now try to use this as the points to plot in the graph. So how will you plot the points in the graph now? So let's try the example. So let's try and plot these points. So if you do not have a general paper, just take a squared paper or a dotted paper. So that would help you in drawing these diagrams. So the first one that we want to do is draw the x-axis. So we have the x-axis now. Next, let's draw the y-axis. So we have the y-axis. So we have the x-axis and y-axis. Let's say that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's call this point 7. And negative direction, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. So next you have the y-axis. So in the y-axis we have one, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So in the bottom part we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, and then negative 7. So let's start with the first point. So for this, let's try to find the first point. So the first point is negative 3 and negative 7. So first we have to go negative 3 in this direction, and then we have to go negative 7 in the downward direction until here. So this is the point, negative 3 comma negative 7. Next you have negative 2 comma negative 5. So again until negative 2 until negative 5. So here, this point here is negative 2 comma negative 5. Next negative 1 comma negative 3. So until negative 1 and then negative 3. So this is the third point. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this is 1, 2, and 3. Now let me put all of this in white so that it becomes easier. Now, so the next point is 0 comma, so this is 0, comma -1. So -1. So this is the point. Next you have 1 comma 1. So this is 1. So 1 and 1. So this is 1 comma 1. Next you have 2 comma 3. So you have 2 until here, and then you go on to 3. So 2 comma 3. Next 3 comma 5. So you go until 3 and 5. So this is how you plot the points. So the next thing we do here is try to join the points. So this is how you can join the points. So this is how you can join the points. So once you join the point, whatever parts are left, that becomes the so this is the line. So this line here is the representation for the equation y equal to 2x minus 1. So this is the line is the representation for y equal to 2x minus 1. So this is an example of how you can plot using a graph. So there are many other ways of plotting as well. So one another method that we use is when you have a larger and when you have a more complex line, you can use a graphing utility. Most common graphing utilities are calculators. So the other method for using the graphing utility is to use this app called Desmos. So if you click desmos.com, it will open this website and just click on start graphing. So here you can write, so here you can type y equal to 2x so y equal to 2, and then here you can write the equation that we have 2x minus 1. So and it shows you the exact graph that you end up with. So if you click on this button here, so it shows you the graph exactly. So notice that all of the points that we did are exactly the same points. Notice 0 comma minus 1, you have 0.5 comma 0, you have so you can drop all the points that you generally see here on the graph. So this is how the line would look like. You can draw it infinitely, but you don't need to draw it infinitely. So if you represent it with 2 arrows, it remembers the idea there is that it's a line that stops at some point. So this is how you can draw using the method of plotting points. So for the method of plotting points, what are the steps that we need to use? So what are the steps? So number 1 is to make a table with one column x and another y. So one column, that's you call it x, and the other column y, and the third column for the final value y. So the second step is to enter the x values down the first column or row. You can call it, you can have a row or a column, whichever one that you prefer, first column or a row. So using both positive and negative values, positive and negative values. So when you select them, so select it in the numerical order, so makes it easier to graph. So when you select it in the numerical order, it makes it easier to graph. Select third, so select the x values that will yield y value easily. So with minimum calculation. And number 4, so plot the ordered pairs and at last connect the points if they form a line. So these are the steps that we need to use when you have to use the example for plotting points on a graph. So try on your own. This time try this example y equal to negative x plus 2 and try this method by plotting points. So for your simplicity, so in the table here, so x, y equal to minus x plus 2 and y. So you can choose, for example, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1 and then for example 2, right, until let's say the original plus value 3, and try to substitute the values and write down the xy ordered pairs and finally use a graph and try to plot it on the graph. So pause the video right here and try to solve this problem. So the next thing we want to do is to find the x and y intercepts. So what is an intercept? So intercept is the point at which it crosses an axis. So intercept is the point where the line cuts an axis. For example, if this is the axis, so you want to know, so if this is the line that cuts the two axes, so the axis where it cuts the x, so you have two axes here, so every line generally would cut both x and y axis. So some lines do not cut them, but generally they would cut both axes. Now the point at which it cuts the y axis, we call it the y-intercept. The point at which it cuts the x axis, we call it the x-intercept. So the point at which the y axis cuts the, so these are the ways we define x-intercept and y-intercept. So with that in mind, let's try and find using an example. So let's say we have an equation y equal to 3x minus 1. How would you find the x and y intercept without having to draw the graph? One way we can do that is, there are two methods we can do. So when you want to find the x intercept, so put y equal to 0 and find x. When you want to find the y-intercept, put x equal to 0 and then find y. Let's try the example here. Let's start with the x-intercept. So the method is to put y equal to 0. So in this equation, so when you put y equal to 0, it becomes 0 equal to 3x minus 1. So if you reconfigure it, so you get 3x equal to 1, x equal to 1 by 3. So the x-intercept, write it as an ordered pair x comma y. So x here is 1 by 3 comma y, we put it as 0, so 0. So this is the x-intercept. In the next one, we want to find the y-intercept. So y-intercept, we know the method is to put x equal to 0. So the equation is y equal to 3x minus 1. So when you put x equal to 0, y becomes 3 times 0 minus 1. So that becomes 0 minus 1, that is minus 1. So y equal to minus 1. Now when you want to find the y-intercept, is also written as x comma y. So x here is 0 comma minus 1. So this is the y-intercept for the problem. So this is how you can find the y-intercept. So when you want to find the x-intercept, so put y equal to 0, find x and write the answer as x comma 0. when you want to find the y-intercept, put x equal to 0, find the value of y, and put the answer as 0 comma y. So this is the method that we can use. So now you try an example. So try this problem, y equal to minus 3x minus 4. So for this, find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Right. So pause the video right here and try to solve this problem. So next, let's talk about the distance formula. So distance formula is, let's say you have 2 points x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2. So any 2 points, and you want to find the distance between these 2 points. So then the formula for distance d can be written as under root y2 minus y1 whole square plus x2 minus x1 whole square. So this is called as the distance formula. So let's try an example. Let's say you have a question, so find the distance between minus 3 comma minus 1 and 2 comma 3. So how will you find the distance between these 2 points? So again, write down the points first. So minus 3 comma minus 1, 2 comma 3. So minus 3 can be written as x1, minus 1 as y1, 2 as x2, 3 as y2. Now distance d can be written as under root x2 minus, so you can write y2 minus y1 square plus x2 minus x1 square. So that is square root. So what is y2 here? So y2 is 3. So 3 minus y1 is minus 1. So 3 minus of minus 1 square plus x2 is 2 minus of x1 is minus 3. So 2 minus of minus 3 square. So that becomes square root of 3. Minus into minus is plus. So 3 plus 1 square plus 2 minus of minus 3 is 2 plus 3 square. Now, so that becomes under root 3 plus 1 square is 4 square plus 2 plus 3 square is 5 square. So that becomes under root 16 plus 25. That becomes under root 41. So the distance here between these 2 points is root 41 units. So we do not know the exact unit, so we'll just write units. So this is the value for distance. So hope you understand this. Now let's try, so you try another problem. So try to find the distance between 1 comma 4 and 11 comma 9. So again x1 y1, x2 y2. So try to use the values and use the formula d equal to under root y2 minus y1 square plus x2 minus x1 square. So try to substitute the value and try to find the answer. So pause the video right here and try to solve this problem. So the next one is the midpoint formula. So what is the midpoint formula? So midpoint formula is if you have 2 points x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2. The midpoint between the 2 points, for example, let's say this is x1 comma y1 and let's say this is another point x2 comma y2, and you want to find this point, the midpoint. So this midpoint is given by the formula x1 plus x2 by 2 comma y1 plus y2 by 2. So where do we need to use this? For example, let's say you have a circle, and in the circle they have given you the points of the diameter. Alright, so the points of the diameter, or the coordinates of the diameter, are x1, y1 and x2, y2. Then the center of the circle is the midpoint. So this is where you can use an example of the midpoint. So let's take a simple example. So let's find the midpoint between 7, -2 and 9, 5. So in this, let's try the problem. So you have x1, y1, x2, y2. So the formula for midpoint is x1 plus x2 by 2, y1 plus y2 by 2. x1 is 7 plus 9 by 2, -2 plus 5 by 2. So 7 plus 9 by 2 becomes 16 by 2, -2 plus 5 by 2 becomes 3 by 2. So that becomes 8, 3 by 2. So that's the midpoint of the two given points. So now in this problem they have given you the diameter has endpoints -1, -4 and 5, -4. So again remember x1, y1, x2, y2. So they're asking you to find the center. Center, remember, is the midpoint. So try to solve this problem. So use the formula x1 plus x2 by 2 and y1 plus y2 by 2 and try to solve this problem. So pause the video right here and try to solve this problem.